Luka draws first blood triple-double style. Can the Houston Rockets bully their way through the playoffs against softer teams? And as the NFL looks to ban the tush push, I'll ask Matt and Haize if they would ban something currently allowed in the NBA. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts. From the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network, he's the man of 1,000 podcasts. It's Matt Moore.
Shouldn't Luka just lean into it and just start branding a whole line of hookahs? It could be Luka's hookahs.
Well, he's buying parking lots, so as long as he's making investments, why not just do one more? All right, and from the Locked On Bulls podcast, the Prince of Petty, it's Haize.
Speak of petty, P.J. Washington made 0 shots, had 0 stats other than 3 turnovers. Technically, all 3 of us had as good of a game as P.J. Washington did last night.
I will say, as someone that covered him as a Locked On Hornets host, that is not unfamiliar. In the regular season, in the playoffs, he obviously was looking a lot better for Dallas. But yeah, he didn't show up for this game. But we are not going to talk about P.J. Washington. We are going to talk about the man of the hour, Luka Doncic, who notched his first triple-double as a Los Angeles Laker against his old team in front of the man, Nico Harrison, who was responsible for him being traded from the Dallas Mavericks as chants, thank you, Nico, chants rained down in the Lakers arena. Matt, what was your overall takeaway from what turned out to be a very interesting game on top of all of the storylines?
6 of 17 from the field for Luka. I'm not saying he was forcing it, but wasn't the dominant, super crazy performance I think maybe that everyone kind of expected from him. Probably nerves got to him a little bit about the all the attention and all the drama on it. But hey, 19, 15, and 12 at a +8. Can't complain about that. I thought Austin Reeves was actually really phenomenal in this game. And ultimately this Mavericks team without Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively isn't really good enough. So I wasn't really surprised by the outcome. Good win for the Lakers, I guess. But mostly I'm just glad this is behind us so we can move forward. Oh, wait, no, that's right. He goes to Dallas and then we have to deal with that whole story again.
Yeah, it was an entertaining game from the storylines and everything going into it, but it went kind of the way that I thought. I didn't think Luka would have a bigger game than what he did, but I think Austin Reeves had a really good game. The P.J. Washington disappointment. Kyrie put on a performance last night that, of course, not many people are going to talk about because of the loss, but love seeing Kyrie when he gets in rhythm.
I mean, he's in LA. He's in LA where he wants to go. Can I ask a real quick follow-up? Haize, if you were Nico Harrison, would you go to this game? Why did he go to this game? I do not understand this. He's hanging out with the Lakers people.
As the Prince of Petty, I would have showed up to the game with the I Traded Luka t-shirt on.
Fair enough.
Well, listen, it's certainly not going to dissuade people from the conspiracy theories about his possible future with Nike or possible future with LA when he's doing things like that. But he certainly has not run away from this. I mean, you remember the press conference that he had after the trade. He was definitely out in front trying to explain if this was a good move for the Lakers or not. Let's kick it. I got a lot more questions on this, but I want to hear from the Kamenetsky brothers at Locked On Lakers with their take on how Luka looked last night and why patience is still in order on what the final Lakers product can look like this season.
Very clearly keyed up for this one. There's no question about that. And, particularly in the first half, Andy, you got a full taste of all the range of things that Luka can do when he is playing well, feeling comfortable, all that stuff. That first half had all of it. When it was over, he was asked about closure. Does this kind of give you some closure on it? He's like, no, we're not done yet. It's still going to take time to get used to literally being a Laker, literally having your home base be Los Angeles. All of that stuff is just going to take time. But in the meantime, the Lakers continue to win games, and they're doing it without Luka, having to be at his best. They moved to 14 games over 500 with this win on Tuesday. We're seeing what it can look like and how he changes what the Lakers are capable of when it clicks. Oh my God, it is fun basketball to watch.
Certainly was fun last night, and a lot of that had to do with LeBron James and him continuing to elevate his level of play. After the game, JJ Redick saying LeBron is playing at an all-NBA defense level, but he was also contributing offensively. I think one of the plays that sticks out in my mind was LeBron's post re-entry into Luka Doncic, who finally kicked it out to LeBron James for the open three, which he knocked down late in that game. I feel like some of the storylines out of this game are more about LeBron James and what he is continuing to do at his age, Haize, than it was about Luka Doncic's triple-double.
Yeah, I think it was because, he did have a triple-double, but it wasn't, he didn't have the scoring output that people think. And I think LeBron's going to continue to be the story for what he's able to do at his age. But Luka put on, he was +8. Yeah, he didn't shoot the ball overall effectively, but what he was able to do last night affecting so many aspects of the game should be talked about more. But between Austin Reeves and LeBron, I can understand why they are getting a little bit more of the talk around the team.
Matt, do you agree with JJ Redick's take there that LeBron is playing at an all-NBA defensive level? And further in that sort of answer that he gave in the post-game press conference, it seems like JJ Redick feels like there's a perception of what LeBron is and what he's capable of, and what JJ Redick is seeing on the floor night in and night out, and those perceptions may be different.
Okay. He's playing at right now. He did not play at earlier in the season. So he's got this nasty habit of when you move him to the weak side corner, LeBron drifts. Like he just does not he started doing this in Cleveland, and I do not understand it and will never understand it. He will drift off of that weak side corner to help up in pick and roll or side pick and roll or ISOs unnecessarily. Good defender will have his business handled, and LeBron still helps up, which allows either a back cut or a corner three. He's got a nasty habit of doing that. He still will drift, but he's been locked in over the last, 5-6 weeks. And that's awesome. When he's locked in, he's still LeBron, which at age 40 is categorically pretty insane. Last 10 games offensively, he's averaging in the last 10 games, he's 29 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. And he's shooting 55-45. What is this human being? What is this person that plays basketball? It is stupid how good he still is. But there's always that part of me that's at 40, there's going to be a price to pay for this at some point. At 40, the other side's always coming. And you could say that tweet that's, thank God this effery will not last much longer at 30. But we've seen him drop off a little bit. I am kind of curious when the next dip comes for him and what that means for the Lakers.
Haize, you mentioned that we're not talking enough about Kyrie's performance in this one. 35.7 rebounds, 4 assists in this game. I want to talk about him, and so did Locked On Mavericks. That opened their show this morning. Let's take a listen to that.
Impressed by Kyrie Irving. He stepped up in a big moment. You can tell, him and Klay Thompson specifically, you can tell that those two guys have been in big moments and been into big situations, because especially in that first half, there was just nobody that was doing anything. The first quarter, everybody was missing shots. Only 3 players hit shots. Kyrie hit 5, Max Christie hit 1, Klay hit 1. Nobody else hit a shot. But Kyrie finished with 35 points. He had 18 in the first half. He was just absolutely awesome and stepped up in a big moment when you could tell he's been stepping up as the leader for this team for the last couple of weeks, even a month with Luka out. And it was one more time where he goes, all right, this is a big moment, big emotional moment for my team.
So, Haize, if you're the Mavericks, do you feel good about competing with the Lakers without AD, Lively, and Gafford, and getting that kind of contribution from Kyrie Irving? Also, Klay Thompson, 22 points in this game. How should you feel if you're the Mavericks after this game?
You should be a little encouraged with just the case. If you can get everybody back healthy before the playoffs and try to go on a little bit of run there, you should be able to do one a little bit. The Mavericks have some talent on this team. It's just that, of course, they traded Luka, but this is still a team that can, whether it's through the play-in or whatever else, can still have a fun run and maybe even make some noise in the playoffs. But they got to get healthy. That's the thing. You have to get healthy, but you got talent on this roster for sure.
Maybe. I don't know. Kyrie showed out. Kyrie showed out in the Nike showcase. Like, congrats. I don't know. I do continue to just kind of wonder, like, are you going to be able to rely on this guy? Like, is he going to be able to be he can't be the guy. AD can't be the guy. AD couldn't be the guy in LA. Kyrie's Kyrie. He's never been the guy. You got two guys who've never been the guy, and they're going to be the guys for this team. I've said the word guy a lot. I am unconvinced of this team's championship potential. I think their defense could get them there, but they got to get the centers back healthy. Their defense is a much bigger deal, I think, than their offense.
That's certainly the idea behind the trade, at least according to Nico Harrison. We're continuing to get articles about Nico even after this game and the perspective of the Dallas Mavericks franchise about Luka Doncic. I want to read one of the latest quotes from The Athletic and Sam Amick, and we'll talk about that and continue to talk about this trade. Also, the Houston Rockets, they got a gritty win against the Milwaukee Bucks. And, the defense for Houston looking great, the offense not looking so great, but can they take that defense into the playoffs and turn into something better? I want to talk about that as well coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk, rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. I want to read you this quote from the latest from The Athletic and Sam Amick on Nico Harrison and the trade that sent Luka Doncic from the Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers. Here it is. Make no mistake, the people who witnessed Doncic's last days in Dallas do not paint a flattering portrait of the 25-year-old's professionalism. They call him lazy. They predict his basketball demise, highlighting a health history that, as some see it, will likely lead to catastrophe in the next 5 years or so, unquote. That's quite a prediction to put, not necessarily on the record in terms of on your name, but to put in an article like that. Meanwhile, the Lakers are confident not only in a return to form for Luka, but an improvement in those habits. Matt, who are you betting on being right in 5 years?
So this from the beginning, there's a psychological effect called the observer effect, which is once you're under observation, your behavior changes because of that observation. If I tell you, hey, I'd like you to write this sentence, write the sentence in cursive. How careful are you going to be while I'm watching you? Are you going to write it the same way that you always do? Or are you going to be a little bit more careful? You're going to be a lot more careful. By making this a public comment, by basically putting it out there, you're daring him. You're putting it out. You're making him aware of it. You're making him aware. We traded you and wouldn't pay you the max because you are fat and you are lazy. So he's not going to be fat and lazy. Like, you are just giving you this deal gets better for the Lakers every second, Haize. Like, every nanosecond that passes, the Mavericks are actively making it better for the Lakers, which continues to make me wonder, who exactly is Nico Harrison working for?
Himself. Nico, I don't know himself. Some he's working for the Lakers. Maybe he's secretly on the Lakers payroll. Maybe he's a double agent. Things keep coming out about this Luka thing, and that's the way it's gonna be. But to your point, you've now given Luka the battery in his back to be more motivated about getting his conditioning in order. And if Luka's been able to do what he's been able to do, as what's been called out with him being out of shape and not taking his conditioning serious, imagine the version that the Lakers could get from Luka if he does start taking that conditioning seriously. You literally have probably just handed the Lakers, I would say for sure, at least one title, if not 2 or 3. So thank you, Nico Harrison.
All right, let's move on to the Houston Rockets, who gutted out a win over the Milwaukee Bucks last night and showcased both sides of what makes them one of the biggest question marks in the NBA's list of playoff threats. Here's Locked On Rockets host Jackson Gatlin with more.
Another nail biter for the Rockets. They're no strangers to nail biters. They've got the most clutch wins in the entire NBA this season. 21 clutch wins now. Defense won this game, man, because it certainly was not the offense, as the Rockets managed to only put up 100 points in this game. As close as this game was, it feels like it probably didn't need to be this close down the stretch with so many of the kind of self-inflicted mistakes that the Rockets had down the stretch in this one. Over the course of a 7-game series, this level of defense, which I think it'll be easier for them to tap into on a game-to-game, night-to-night basis once you're in the postseason and you know that every game matters, as opposed to the regular season where maybe effort or intensity can wane in a given possession or for a given quarter or a half, things like that. That's what should inspire a lot of confidence to Rockets fans, is that this team, when they are locked in, when they are engaged, can play this type of can put on this type of a defensive showcase.
Haize, are you surprised they have 21 clutch wins? That sounds like one of those things that sort of sounds good, but then you think about it for a little bit and you're like, wait a minute, why were they in so many clutch games? What do you think about that? Plus, I mean, the Rockets, it feels like a choose-your-own-adventure book, right? You can either choose to focus on the suffocating defense or you can choose their limited offensive skill. Which adventure are you focused on?
So it doesn't surprise me as much. The Bulls last year had 39 wins, and 26 of those wins came in clutch, and we were a terrible team. Considering the defense and the youth of the Houston Rockets, that doesn't surprise me as much as you would think, especially with just the defensive prowess that they have, and they're a young team. As far as the choose-your-own-adventure portion of it, I'd focus on the defense. I think that's the thing right now that makes the Houston Rockets special, is that defense that they're able to play. And if they do turn this thing around and are able to go on a playoff run, it'll probably be because of that defense.
I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, so they've got this great clutch record. They're actually behind in expected wins per Pythagorean, which means that their point differential is better than what you would expect. Their point differential is better than what you'd expect for the record, right? Mm-hmm. They should have won more games. I just don't know how to kind of parse that. I think the big thing might be just as simple as this. They're going to be a really tough team. They're probably not ready for a deep playoff run. They still don't have the guy, but they're not dead in the water. I don't think they're going to get walked on in the first round. I just don't think they're going to win. And that to me is kind of where I settle on Houston right now.
Which team in the NBA right now feels the most like what Jackson was getting at there in the back half of that clip? The team that you can't fully judge until you get them into a 7-game series. Like the regular season cannot fully capture what they can and can't do in the second season. Matt, do you have a team that comes to mind other than the Rockets, obviously, that comes to mind for you when you talk about that kind of thing?
Cleveland. Look, Darius Garland has been bad in every playoff run that he's had. This is his best season. Is he going to make a jump? Is he going to be a 16-gamer? We've seen guys go from not being 16 gamers to 16 gamers. He can do it, but it's a small guard with next to another small guard. I trust Evan Mobley. Jared Allen's actually had some troubles in the playoffs too. So to me, look, you look up and down that roster and it's like, I like those guys for the regular season. And I'm not saying that dismissively. I genuinely think Ty Jerome, I genuinely think Sam Merrill have given them really great minutes. The playoffs are different. And I don't know if we can really trust it. And if we can trust it, the Cavs have a legit shot at winning the title, which would be an amazing story. But until we get there and we can actually see it, I have to have a little bit of caution with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay, that's fair. I like the Cavs pick there. I'll say the Memphis Grizzlies. I know I've been higher on them. I think the Grizzlies than a lot of people have, than even what we have on this panel. But them being top 10 in offensive defense, them having Ja, as long as they could be healthy, I think that they could look a little bit different in the second season. I think Ja also could be somebody who goes back to kind of being more dominant than facilitating more often. You just got to get those turnovers down. Those turnovers are killing them. But I picked the Memphis Grizzlies here for this conversation.
Well, Ja was certainly clutch last night in what was like sort of an old school all-star game. The final score, the combined, it did go to OT, but the combined score between the Grizzlies and the Suns was 299 points. Pretty insane. But coming up, I want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow because they got a big win against Orlando. I believe it was 40 points, maybe 40 plus points against Orlando. So put a pin in that. I want to talk about Cleveland tomorrow. But coming up, there's a game tonight that's very interesting. The Boston Celtics and Detroit Pistons. I want to hear from John Corrales, who gives us a little bit of an interesting sort of Jayson and Jalen contrast that the Boston Celtics are trying to deal with or trying to work to their advantage. That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 regular season for the NBA, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon until midnight. And here's how to take advantage of the deal. After that epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot. Get it delivered straight to your door. Staying up late to watch some highlights or just need a midnight snack? Use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. If you need a quick and easy lunch the next day, Dash Pass gets you your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Planning to catch the next game? Order go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Maybe it's your first watch on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. I'm busy getting a bunch of your comments that you've left for us together for a segment possibly tomorrow. Shouts from the Stanosphere is what I'm calling it. A lot of people, they love their team. They love their team, and they want to tell Matt and Haize how much they love that team. So look forward to that. But first, I want to look ahead to tonight's action. There are a lot of parking lot full of rakes games for good teams. You've got the Thunder at the Nets. The Knicks welcome the Sixers. The Clippers, they're going to try to rebound over the Bulls. But I'm looking forward to the Boston Celtics traveling to play the Detroit Pistons. And we'll get to that game in a second. But I want you to hear first this piece of analysis from our good friend John Corrales of Locked On Celtics, who discusses what changed for the Celtics that allowed them to staunch the bleeding against the Toronto Raptors last night.
Built up a big lead, ended up losing it in the second quarter. That second quarter was a super frantic. That was Toronto style of play. And I don't think it was a surprise that the Jaylen Brown-led lineups kind of fell into that trap, because Jaylen likes to play fast. The second quarter changed when Jayson Tatum came back in. Jayson plays slow, and against this particular team, they needed to play a little bit slower just to not fall into Toronto's frantic helter-skelter trap. One of the ways to combat the Celtics defense is to play fast and get them cross-matched. That second quarter, it got frantic. The Celtics were missing shots. Toronto, it was very kind of out of control. Tatum came back in, took back control because he plays the pace that is the antidote for what Toronto was trying to do.
Okay, so Jayson Tatum changes the game for the Boston Celtics against the Raptors, but the numbers were not super gaudy in this one. 19, 6, and 11, a decent box score line, but not gaudy. You know, all of the MVP chatter right now seems to be focused on Jokic and SGA. And there's this sub-chatter of, are we underappreciating what Tatum is doing this season? And so that's what I want to ask Matt and Haize. Matt, we'll start with you. Is he underappreciated because he's surrounded by so many great role player performances, because his style of play is slower, isn't exciting enough? Like, why is Jayson not getting more love?
I think let's remove the stats from it. Like, I can give you the stats argument, but let's instead go this way. What's Jayson Tatum elite at? Like, that's my question. Is like, what's Jayson Tatum elite at? What is he the best in the league at? because like I think he's a top line defender. I think he is an elite level forward defensively, but those guys aren't going to get a lot of attention. It's just defense, and nobody gets enough attention for defense. Okay, scoring. He's consistent. Yeah, he's pretty consistent with his usage rate. Is he a lethal shooter? No. Is he a top level guy in terms of being able to score from anywhere on the floor? No. Like, he's really good. There's nowhere that he's bad, but there's nowhere that it's just like, oh man, he is deadly from that range in that spot, that pull up jumper, that layup. There's nothing. There's things that, again, he's so good in so many areas, but he's not elite anywhere. The problem is like people take that and then they push it too far. And then we start talking about him as like, he's not a top 10 player. He's not even a top 10 player. That's ridiculous. Jayson Tatum's a top 10 player. Look at all the winning that he does. Look at how good he is in every area of the game. He's a top 10 player, but he's somewhere between 10 and 5. That's it. Is it where he's always been? He's somewhere between 10 and 5. And if you think that he's closer to 10, you're probably underappreciating him. And if you think that he's closer to 5, you're probably overappreciating him a little bit. He just hasn't been able to put it together. He's also 26, Haize. Like, there's every chance I think he'll have that season, but he's won a lot and he's really good. I just haven't found that season where I'm like, he's elite now at this. And that to me is why it's so hard to peg him correctly in the NBA pecking order.
I have a question for you, Matt. Do you think he's able to have that season while Jaylen Brown is still on the team?
Yeah, I think he could, but it would mean that Jaylen takes an even lesser role. You know, I think last season was so much Jaylen, and Tatum had a really not a great year statistically. If he takes a larger role, he can look like some of these other guys that are the isocentric best players on various teams, but the team's probably not as good. And I honestly, I applaud Jayson for not being like, I want more touches, I want more shots, I want to put up numbers. Like, good for him, man. Like, Jayson Tatum cares about winning, which is what you should do. But it also means that we can't really appreciate him to the level that maybe he's capable of.
And that was the point that I was going to try to get into. Is it because that Jayson Tatum he just does the things that are needed for his team to win the most basketball games possible? Whereas and not to say that Luka and Jokic don't do that, because they absolutely do. But you look at Shea. What is the thing with Shea? He's he's maybe the best scorer in the game of basketball, one of the best scorers in the game of basketball. You look at Jokic. He's able to do everything, but he does everything in even more of a way than even what Jayson Tatum does. And what he's able to do at that size is spectacular. Like, Jayson Tatum is a really, really good player, and he plays on a really good team that's coached very well, with another really good player on it as well, several really good players on it. And I just don't think that he's ever going to have the type of season while they're playing the correct way to get MVP votes. And I mean, it's unfortunate. He's probably always going to be third or fourth in the MVP ladder every year for the next 3 to 5 years. And it's still a great career, but it does force him to be a little bit underrated, I think, or underappreciated. But I think Jayson Tatum is going to be one of those players that we look back on, and not when he's retired or anything, but we look back and we're like, did you see just the last decade that Jayson Tatum had? And we'll talk about it in that reference then. But I just don't know if he's ever going to get that MVP level because of him just doing the right things.
Well, and I think that's what makes that clip from John Corrales so interesting, is like the ability to sort of change the pace of an entire game against a team that wants to play fast. Like, that stuff is difficult to quantify, which makes, the Locked On local analysis here super important, and we appreciate John Corrales for that. All right, let's talk Celtics Pistons tonight. Both teams come into this game with winning streaks, but neither has faced a lot of quality opponents this month. Which team do you think needs this win the most, Detroit or Boston, Haize?
I'd say Detroit, and mainly just because I like the way that Detroit's playing basketball. I love when Ku's able to be excited, but they're 8-10 in their last two. They're on a 7-game winning streak. I'd say that Detroit, they're 6 right now. They need to create a little bit more separation because I want to see them adamantly have that 6 seed. So I'll say Detroit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's Detroit. If Boston loses, they weren't really trying. They're coasting. If they win, best win of the season. Be Locked On Celtics. So I just don't think and nothing that Boston does right now really is going to matter for the perception of them. It's just not going to matter. And with Detroit, you're still trying to prove that you can actually make a run. Honestly, the bigger thing is just like, this is it's the highest step in quality that you can have for the Pistons. getting those reps against Boston in this situation, I think is really valuable for them. So I'll definitely say it's Detroit.
All right, final thing here on Locked On NBA. There is a push in the NFL right now to ban a play called the tush push, which is a variation of the QB draw play that has been extremely effective for the Philadelphia Eagles, particularly against the Kansas City Chiefs, Matt Moore's team, which is why you saw him if you were watching on YouTube.
It's also garbage. It's also a garbage play that everyone hates. Go ahead.
I don't know that everyone hates it. I don't think you can find anyone in Philadelphia that hates it. But so my question is, does the NBA have a tush push? Or what is something in the NBA that you would like to see get banned or changed? Haize, I'll throw it to you first. Is there a tush push in the NBA?
I think the thing that I would want to see the NBA get rid of is goaltending, not in the sense that goaltending is just not a call anymore, but once the ball touches the rim, it should be in play. This whole thing where you got to let it come off the rim, get rid of that. I think that could speed up the game a little bit more. That can get you a little bit more scoring on the inside. I think you get rid of goaltending in that sense. As soon as the ball touches the rim, it's in play.
I once emailed the league and was like, does that mean that the entire ball has to be out of the cylinder or just part of the ball has to be outside the cylinder? How do you define outside the cylinder? And the response I got was in the cylinder. They don't want to define it. It's a ridiculous rule. I'm with Haize. Ban the charge. Let defenders guard better on the perimeter and then get rid of this charge. Get rid of it. I always want to reward the defense. I'm a defense guy. Let them guard on the perimeter and actually stop guys, actually lock them up. Don't let them just run into you and then flail and draw a foul. Get rid of that and let's have actual perimeter defense, but let's see more contests at the rim. Because Kyle Lowry sliding under a guy is the equivalent of Philadelphia running up and just having somebody push you in the butt. Like, it is ridiculous. No one wants to see it. No one wants to see tush pushes. Nobody wants to see the charge. Get rid of the charge. Let's actually try and play defense. Let athletic players make athletic plays.
So more physical defense, no goaltending. It sounds like you're advocating for a push towards maybe a more FIBA. I always have this debate. I don't know which one it is. FIBA style of play, international style of play. And as the NBA continues to expand internationally, one wonders if that could possibly, particularly the goaltending thing, could put more of an emphasis on play down low. If you're looking for solutions that aren't move the 3-point line back or cut off the corner three to change up the styles of play across the league, that's an interesting rule change.
Fans very much like the FIBA style officiating. Like they really liked it. When the NBA went to more physical style of play last season, the fans really liked it. I don't know why the NBA keeps doing these half measures and not committing to it. Like, it's time. Get off of your ass. It's time, guys. We got to help the defense out a little bit and allow them to make more plays. We have let the offenses go long enough. We have had that era. It is time for us to move back and let the defense actually defend.
That's right. Move back, not move forward, particularly pushed by your teammates into the end zone.
Yes.
Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you right back here on Locked On NBA. And also subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. See you tomorrow.